and reimbursements.
Okay, I'll just give you an update on the FEMA situation. You have a handout in your packet. I would just focus on, there's a column a bit to the left that's referred to as revised. And for the most part, anything to the right of that, the expenditures, we haven't been doing any really additional expenditures since the last meeting. But what has happened is that we had a deadline with the state of Connecticut. They requested that anything that was through the year end 6/30 of 20 had to be submitted to them by the end of October. Of course, with their requirement, we needed to have a letter from FEMA. We didn't get the letter from FEMA. In fact, we're still have been moved to the final review level as of November 5th. So even though we're moving well with FEMA, it wasn't quick enough to meet the state deadline. So basically what that had done is it took those items that are referred to as the 25% to OPM, the second line, has put that on a delay for reimbursement to go into the next round. So it's not that we won't get the reimbursement, it just had to be delayed. Anything that was going to be FEMA matched, the state has asked that they be removed from the initial request, and we'll put it into the next round of funding, which they're going to open up the programming for that hopefully in the next 30 days. So we had a delay, but what was submitted was the $27,592, which was direct state reimbursable, which is anything that was not a FEMA eligible. So other than that, we are watching to see what will happen with FEMA. Of course, on the storm, still nothing has changed as far as decisions from Washington. We're waiting for that before any decisions on reimbursements on FEMA storm-related expenses.
Okay. Any questions?
For the Board of Education, the number that we see there, the 249, I'm sorry, the 230, that's after accounting for the various things we discussed last time, because I thought their total spend had been closer to 800.
That was the portion that they were hoping that we would be able to cover through the FEMA portion. They had other sources. John, if you wanted to jump in, other sources to cover the additional.
Yeah, I think the 800,000 is being covered by some for not knowing exactly what program, like the CARES Act, and they got a number of funds from the state and the federal area, and they're picking up expenses associated with additional employees they had to hire for buses and cleaning and so on, and they're just asking the town to release some of the funds from the non-reoccurring to pay for some of the material items and cleaning, as well as maybe something to do with some of the air circulation equipment and so on. So the money they're looking for us is more physically equipment, and the difference would be related to probably more labor related and other items they had to do to get prepared for COVID, to allow the kids back into school.
And those wouldn't be eligible for other grants?
They would be covered by other grants.
Okay, so of that 230, we're still potentially looking to get other grants to offset it?
Well, the 230, Mona may be able to apply it to a FEMA grant or to the state, right, and hopefully we'll get some money back from there, but there's no sure thing in this FEMA grant world.
Thanks.
Any other questions, Jeff?
Just a quick one. So I know you said there's a deadline of October to submit certain expenses. As we continue to incur COVID-related expenses, we can still, there's just be another deadline for those occurring after a certain date. And is that how this works? Or
that's right, yes. So even those things that may have happened prior to the date, such as those that were not covered, or responded to from FEMA, we can still apply after. Their concern was that they wanted to at least make their final request statewide by October 31st, so they could at least expend that first round of the 75 million that they had set aside to see what was available for anything July 1st to December. So that was the urgency of the October 31st, is to see what the towns had on hand from the March to the June 30th, how that would affect what they had set aside for the 75 million. And then with that, and after that been taken care of, to see what was available for the July through December component. So yes, we still can take anything that was prior that was an ineligible and submit it to the state.
Great, thanks.
And Mona, just to make sure I'm listening to what you're saying, it sounds like you're pretty comfortable with the process and you're on top of what needs to be done at this point, because I'm sure it's very fluid with COVID.
Yes,
Okay.
very fluid, but at points when it gets at a standstill, not so fluid, but
Yeah.
it is. It's a process that seems to be working well.
Okay. I guess, I think take comfort in the fact that you're on top of it and following it and know the way it's heading, and will keep us updated.
I will.
Thank you. If there's no further questions, we'll move on to the reserve for capital and non-recurring expenditure.
There wasn't much going on in that account because we pretty much closed up the stairs and the roof project, and no other expenses. I do have an update on the Stevens roof project as far as the grant through the state school construction committee. Chuck did submit a request for reimbursement on the grant. Out of the project, we have almost 490,000 of eligible expense. The major ineligible expense was the Stevens School older modules that the roof was replaced on, and those were deemed ineligible. So that was about $92,000. So we do have $490,000 of potential reimbursable expense. And if it flows accordingly, we should get 46% of that 489 or 490 back, which would be close to $225,000. And again, that has been submitted to the state, and I don't think we've seen anything yet. So there's potential of getting that money in the near future.
Any questions? No?
I'll just ask a quick, John, by chance, because I know there's some talk that West Hill might be the next roof that needs to be done at some point. Is that program over and done with through the state, or are they going to have something similar, or we just don't know what's going on?
It's the decision of the Board of Ed on how they want to proceed with their roof improvements, as well as some of their HVAC replacement equipment. But if we continue the same process, we'd have to go through and allocate so much money for Stevens roof. And then the town council would have to approve those 4 resolutions and then submit it to the state, and then follow the same pattern, and then hopefully get the 46% back on the cost to the West Hill roof.
Right.
So Jeff, if I understand your question, you're asking more about the state funding source and if we could expect to get another 46%?
Well, yeah, I didn't know if there was if that was expiring, that program, or if it was continuing, or if they're gonna have a program to take it to
Best of
place.
my knowledge, it's continuing.
Okay.
And John, just along those lines, I assume this becomes a more of a budget question for the next budget cycle, because this isn't
Right.
part of the current budget.
Right, because let's assume we get that 225 back. We would
Right.
replenish the roof project that we called Stevens. And then do you allocate a portion of those funds to cover the COVID expenses that they requested a few weeks ago, or leave it in there as part of the next roof project? And
Okay.
that'd be correct, a budget and a financial decision on what to pay,
Right.
COVID or roof, excuse me.
And if we don't pay it out of the, if we don't reallocate that 225 to the COVID expenses, we would have to pay that out of contingency or elsewhere out of the non-reoccurring. Is there like a substantial difference of doing it one way or the other?
Well, what you're doing is you're paying for two expenses out of one revenue source. So you could, but if you want to do the roof, you somehow would have to say, come up with another $800,000 to show the state that we did budget for that cost, assuming that's what it is. So at this point, we would have, if the 225 came in, then we would have about $448,000 in there. And then if out of that 448, then we could send 200 some odd thousand back to the Board of Ed to cover their COVID expenses. Then we'd only have, the 213 left for the roof project, in which you'd have to allocate more funds to do the roof, assuming it cost $800,000.
Any other questions? No, all right. State aid to municipalities.
Okay, we did receive some state aid during the month of October. We received the pilot money, which was anticipated to come in. That was the 512,303, so 100% of pilot money arrived. We also received the first installment of ECS, which is 25% of the annual amount, $1.2 million for ECS in October. We also received the grant stabilization money, $65,602, and that's the full amount for the budgeted amount for the year. So we have 3 state grants in for this month.
And I guess the one question on ECS, have you heard anything where the state may be accelerating the percentage of the second payment? I know there was hope that we get the 50% first and then maybe the 25.
I have not heard anything like that.
No, we're hoping that to be the first payment.
Right.
Just reverse the order, but we haven't heard anything, and I would bet on they just hold the same payment pattern.
Okay.
But
Figured it was worth trying to see if maybe they change the order. The same dollars, just shift the payment method.
Right.
Okay. Any other questions on the state aid? No? All right. Monthly financial report.
Okay, I will continue. First, we'll talk about the tax collectors report. Just great news on that. We are at 55.7 in comparison to last year at this time at 55.5. Also, if you look at the 3-year average benchmark, we are ahead of the game on that as well, almost at 56%. We were, benchmarking to be at 55.6. So again, although we had done the deferral on the taxes from July to October 1st, we still have come through and collected their full amount and have fact ended up a bit ahead of the game. And delinquent notices went out in the month of October, and collections are still coming in. So we're doing quite well.
Good to hear.
It is.
I don't think there's much to ask questions on that part. So
No, good news.
good
Keep
news.
going.
Let's go to the expense side
Okay. Okay.
or the additional revenues if you'd like.
Sure. Just a bit on additional revenues. I would just point out, although there's great news on the tax collections, you may want to keep an eye on the interest income, budgeting 280,000, and clearly that's not going to make it. That dollar amount there is actually, I think, 1 month behind because of getting the financials together without the statements in place. But with that even in mind, we're still at about 10%. And clearly we should be at a higher percent to keep up with the budget benchmark. So I think that's going to be a problem area for us throughout the year. Definitely an economy related issue rather than the funds being available to invest. Otherwise, we're doing very well in conveyance and recording fees, and all other lines are in great place.
Okay. Any questions here? No? All right, now let's go to the expense side.
Okay. So expense side, since we're through October, we'd look at about 33% usage going through. I would just probably point out, in case something caught the eye, I'd say our IT department looks at it as if it's on the low side. That's more of a timing issue. We did some larger payments this month. It's more of the timing of their contracts in place. So you'll see in the following month that will catch up. Other than that, I would mention we are with our facilities, our utilities are 3 months on the expenditure side, even though this is a 4-month expenditure report, so they may tend to look a little bit shorter than the comparison for percentages. Board of Ed is all the way through October. And again, that would be more like 2 months of operation for September, October. So 22% is normal for them at this point in time. Other than that, I believe things look like they should be right where we're expecting.
Mona, the only one I kind of noticed a little bit higher than, and it could be timing, was the volunteer ambulance. And I didn't know if that was related to increased call volume, COVID protocols, or just a timing issue.
It's more of a timing. They do their payouts almost on a quarterly basis, so you'll see, when the payments are going out. So that's going to fluctuate more on a timing basis than anything.
Okay. I mean, it's
Yeah,
not
they pay some dues for some communication system the first month of the year. And we probably got the full 4 months of, they seem to be billing quicker on our monthly ambulance charge for Aetna.
Okay. And just because I'm asking about the ambulance, any issues, or they feel they're well stocked with PPE at this point?
I'm pretty sure they're doing fine. The only thing that is always questionable is on those, what is it, at the N95 face masks. So that's always the one issue it seems like they have trouble finding, but I thought the state might have got a batch in and then distributed them to the various towns. They should be okay for the short term.
Okay. Any other questions on expenses?
Yeah, I was just looking at the line item for recreation for senior programming. It's down around 16%.
Right.
I assume it's because we haven't been holding on. Well, is that because just the obvious that we haven't been holding events, or is that something cyclical as well?
That's exactly unless John, did you want to?
No.
I was going to say it is that there are basically no events or few events. There are a few programs. I noticed we had like some of the exercise or setback they were doing, but for the most part, it's program expenses that are not there.
Yeah, and we haven't been serving the lunch,
right?
And so on. So, and technically that the center's been closed primarily for construction in the COVID warnings.
Mm-hmm. And is there any thought on, I guess we probably need feedback from the community, but is there any thought about, I don't know, reallocating that to more remote friendly activities if such a thing exists, or I don't know, something bigger with the food? I don't know what's available to us.
Well, probably nothing with the food for the time being, because we really have no place to serve it. Mm-hmm. Now that the construction company's taken over the gymnasium, we're pretty much down to room 4. It's the only room available. And I know that they're trying to do various Zoom programs. They'll probably try to increase them, but they're starting to shift over to start planning for later in the next year, when hopefully the community center opens up in June, July time period, and start having programs there. So we can always encumber some of the money or do something like that for next year.
Thanks.
And Chris, from the senior liaison committee side, there are a lot of senior programs going on, but they're virtual, where before we may have hired buses to take people to events. So they're doing what they can virtually, but in some cases, it's actually less costly to do some of these events because we're not at a theater. There's no meal involved, no transportation.
And attendance is good because I would think that might be the barrier for some of them.
I'm sorry, what was good?
Attendance.
I don't know how it's been compared to prior, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, it may be just something being offered, and those people that are comfortable using Zoom, understand Zoom, and have Zoom on their whatever phone or PC participate in it. But I think they're trying to do some remote activities with the seniors.
Thanks.
All right. I guess moving on, update legal bills for October. Lost my spot there for a minute.
Okay, yep, the legal bills are good through the month of September.
Okay.
We had some charges associated with a couple appeals cases, but other than that, it's pretty slow on the legal front at the time being through September.
Any questions, legal? Nope. All right, we'll keep going. Approval, registrar of voters,
Okay,
2021, 2022 salaries.
yeah, the registrars or voters are on a 2-year term, and part of their statutory requirements are that their salaries need to be set before their term starts. So I believe they were on the ballot, but I don't know what type of competition they had, win or lose. So they're looking for the registrar salary to go up from 24,000 to 25 the current salary is 24,720, and they're looking for an increase to 25,450, and for 21, and then for 22, 2620, with a slight 50 cent an hour increase for the deputy registrar of voters. And again, this is for finance review if they believe these increases are acceptable considering the election season that they had to go through from primaries as well as the presidential. We would just put that on the consent agenda for the town council just to approve these salary increases so that they're set for the next 2 years.
We need a motion to approve it here first, so it can get on the consent agenda?
Yeah.
Okay. I can go ahead and do that. I'd like to make a motion to approve the resolution dated November 16th with regards to the new salary rates for registrar of voters for 2021 and 2022 as stated here.
And just to, do we need to offer friendly amendment to move that to the consent agenda, or would that be as part of that motion, or would that need to be separate?
It's going to be on the consent agenda. So I think Jeff mentioned that in his
Did you?
recommendation.
Okay,
So
I'll second then.
Okay. Any further discussion on it? Seeing none, those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries 3-0. Next agenda item, update on MDC budget.
yes, they had a quick virtual budget session last Thursday, I believe, and they sent out a few documents. They didn't send out the full budget book yet. They still have to bring it to their finance committee that eventually will bring it to their board. And the preliminary numbers that aren't firmed up yet, but it looks like just the water charge projected to go up from $3.97 CCF up to $4.09, just a little over 3% increase. The capital water project rate associated with the debt for that project that they've been working on for a number of years is staying the same at $4.10 a CCF. And as I said, this isn't final yet. It's just a brief preliminary snapshot of what they might be proposing to their financing and MDC board for approval. The plan is hopefully to schedule when they finalize their budget, MDC making probably a presentation maybe in December, but most likely the meeting in January. And that was on the water rates. For the on the next page relates to the sewer rates, which is the ad valorem tax, which is proposed to go up about 3.3%. And on the third page, it would show Rocky Hill is going up from like 3,142,000 to perhaps 3,324,000. It looks like they're being more budget conscious to the towns this year, and I think trying to stay around a 3% increase on the sewer side.
So if I do the quick math regarding the sewer charge for Rocky Hill, that's like a 5.8% increase. Did I do that right? From going from 3,142,400 to 3,330,000.
Yeah, it's probably closer to maybe it's 6.25 increase. No, I'm sorry, that's a different number. That's a percentage. That's Rocky Hill's percent. So if that's what you calculated, then that's probably closer to how it affects Rocky Hill. I was just going with the aggregate number.
Yeah.
But the town's share of the increase is the 6.
Not there's anything we can do about it, but.
Well, the only thing we can hope for is that as it goes through the approval process, some of the commissioners may make some changes and discussion so that maybe they'll eliminate some projects that they had in there or readjust some numbers down associated with costs that they might be estimating for maybe employee benefits and so on. So I think hopefully this is the ceiling, and it's nothing, but it can't go up, but it might go down. That's the hope, which is far better picture than what we saw last year and probably the year before.
John, just one question on this. I'm not sure you'll know the answer to, but the water surcharge for a member versus a non-member, and I'm not looking at the service charges, is the same rate. Is that required by regulation that a member town and a non-member town pay the same rate for water?
I would tend to say yes, so that they don't discriminate against a non-member town.
Okay.
Again, it's being a non-member town, they're selling water to them, which hopefully increases the fee that they charge for that because they have a larger amount of customers taking on the water as opposed to, lesser water going out. Therefore, you have to have a higher rate.
Okay. That's the only one I had. Any other questions on this? I know we beat it up at the council meeting every year, so.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you never feel good about it. Like if it goes up too high, that's obviously a tough pill to swallow. But then if it goes down too low. You wonder if they're just kicking the can down the road like they had for 30 years. So hopefully this is a good number, I
Yeah.
guess. You got to split the difference somewhere.
Yep.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, all the towns that are member towns are paying their equitable share, that we're not getting a higher burden as a percentage than others. I guess that's probably the question I may pose, but we'll get more specific numbers by then. So
Yeah, a lot of that distribution is based on, believe it or not, tax collections. So we may do a better job collecting our taxes than other towns.
Right.
And that could cause us to pay maybe more than our fair share. Hopefully it's not that much more, but that what they usually base it on is the tax collector's history.
So because we do a good job, we get dinged for it. Okay.
Yeah.
It'll be a fun council meeting as always with them.
Yeah, that's why we're putting it off to January. Don't want to spoil the holiday season.
Yeah, good thinking. Yeah.
We'll give Councilor Emmanuel some time to wind up for that one then.
Yeah, we'll clear out. We'll let them run the isolation.
Absolutely.
A box and one.
I think we have a couple of things under other.
Yep. The town received its certificate of achievement for excellence in financial reporting for the June 30th, 2019 audit report, or CAFRA, Comprehensive Annual Financial Report. At some point in time, we should be getting a little medallion symbolizing 2019, and then we'll have that moving ceremony at the town council meeting where I'll have to do it maybe Zoom, but we'll put the medallion up on the wall next to the entrance to the John Murphy room. But yeah, it was a lot of good work done. Mona had a lot to do with it, auditors and other people in the finance department. So
Congratulations on your continued success with that.
Thank you.
How many years in a row now have you been awarded? I mean, it's been a number.
well, I think we've been getting it since '98.
Okay.
20 for us.
Yeah. Challenge.
Congratulations.
And then the last thing under other is just finalizing the finance committee meeting, making sure people still want to meet at 6 o'clock. We're still trying to get that 4:30 through, but it's just a quick revision with 6 o'clock, and I think that was agreed upon. So it's just
I could be open to a 6 a.m. start, but 4:30 won't work.
Now we can't move to like 5 or 5:30. What is it? Because there's meeting rooms are taken. Is that if we go back live? Is that?
I think if we go back, it's available, because I think some Thursdays the Board of Ed might meet at 7. That could interfere, but I think there's no problem moving it back to 5:30 or 5. Or 4:30. 4 o'clock would be nice too.
Yeah.
There'll be plenty of time for that. That'll be fun. But so that's all. It's just the formality of establishing next year's meeting schedule.
Yeah, I would be good with 6 o'clock, because I assume at some point we will start meeting in person again. Let's hope we get this COVID behind us and the commute back and forth. The remote makes it a lot easier to start earlier, but like I said, I'm hoping that ends at some point and we get back to normal.
Yeah, if we could keep doing it remote, I'd say just do it at lunchtime. But yeah, bang it out.
Absolutely.
Love it.
You got to remember that, Mona. Maybe you'll sneak a 12 noon
I'm going to do
start
it.
time to see if they catch it.
One of these days.
Yeah.
So are we good? Anybody have any issues with the dates? I mean, I assume you guys want to make sure there was no holidays falling.
Yeah.
Normally not on the Thursday, with the exception
Yeah.
of Thanksgiving. So, okay. Do we need a motion to approve that, or just?
And then the only thing is there won't be a meeting in November because
Yes.
it's the local election,
Right.
odd years, local, even years.
Okay.
Yeah, did we already approve those? Because I already have them in my calendar somehow
Yeah,
these days.
yeah, it was approved. The last one we tried to sneak by had 4:30 in it.
Oh, okay. So this was just adjusting back.
That's all. Another try saying, hey, I had second thought, let's move back to 4:30, but it's not gonna work, Mona. I told you it wouldn't.
Maybe you can try to do when the clocks change back. Just don't change them.
Yeah, we can scatter it. We could have one for 12 for Chris at noontime and
One
and
at 6 a.m. for Alan.
then merge it all together as a one meeting.
All right. Any other items?
And that's all I have unless Mona came up with anything since
All
10
right.
of
No.
6.
No, I'm done.
All right. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Good night, everyone. We'll see you on Monday.
Take care.
Good night.
Bye.
Have a
Thank
good
you.